We're speaking with Anthony Fisher, and your other article that we want to discuss today had to do with something that there's been a lot of talk about over the past year or so, and that is renaming. In this particular case, the San Francisco Board of Education's efforts to rename their public schools. How has that been going?
Hasn't been going great. There's been a lot of public outrage in San Francisco, which is, as you know, most people would know, a very historically progressive community. They're not opposed to the renaming of schools. This isn't a cancel culture issue, but the outrage has been over the fact that a disproportionate amount of energy has been spent on renaming schools, even though schools have been closed for a full year. And what the focus of my column was on a public video of the school renaming committee, which consisted of no teachers and no historians, and which got their facts wrong egregiously several times. A couple of examples: a committee member said that Paul Revere's name should be removed from a school because he participated in a raid on Native American lands. That didn't happen. And she cited a history.com article, which she was reading during the meeting, and misread it. He said something, misread it.
Okay, well, really fast. So let's be clear about this. It's not just that she got misinformation online, like the wild concept that history.com could get something wrong, but it hadn't even gotten anything wrong. She just got her interpretation wrong, correct?
Exactly. And another completely bonkers example was El Dorado. El Dorado Elementary School is problematic, according to this committee, because El Dorado is a mythical city whose ruler sprinkled gold dust on his subjects. And the reason that's problematic is the gold rush apparently was bad for Native Americans, probably was, but I don't know how that's related. And also, gold itself teaches kids to worship greed, teaches kids to worship, things like that. And one committee member pushed back, saying, El Dorado is not a real place, and it's also not a person, and that's not in the scope of our mission here. And his point of view was rejected out of hand. So it's kind of a case where even liberals were saying we seem like parodies of ourselves in this particular instance, because the narrative of problematic names, the narrative that this is restorative justice to just slash and burn names off of schools, trumped the search for facts. And even the school board's president, in an interview with the New Yorker, defended the committee's their lack of due diligence, basically saying that historians weren't really needed to be brought in, that these people were representing the community adeptly, and that we shouldn't criticize their work because they're coming from a good place.
Wow. Look, it makes it like the people who are legitimately trying to fight in areas where it might not be so easy to rename something for names that are far more clearly objectionable. It becomes harder to do that when you play into the right's attempts to frame this as a big joke when you do something that is a big joke. But it's interesting because you write in your op-ed, it's tempting to view the San Francisco school renaming debacle through a one-way cultural war lens, with woke lefties beclowning themselves in a liberal city's government, unable to provide a most basic public function, but that's reductive. So explain what you were talking about there, that it isn't as simple as just that.
Yeah, it's not just a left problem. We're kind of in a post-facts era in this country, where, for lack of a better phrase, the woke left is beholden to a narrative where they will sometimes get the facts wrong, and that's considered okay. On the right, the majority of Trump voters believe in a complete lie that the election was stolen. There obviously are other lies that that Donald Trump poisoned people's brains with over the last 5 years. QAnon is a big lie that's embedded itself. But the election fraud hoax is a lie that is endangering our democracy, and it's on the right. And so the right really, they can snicker all they want at this silliness coming out of San Francisco, but they haven't cleaned up their own backyard when it comes to narrative trumping facts.
Wow. Anyway, it's both are amazing stories and about topics that I don't think nationally people know are really going on. A lot of parents are probably dealing with the sort of zero tolerance policies you talked about. But I don't have kids, so I didn't necessarily know from personal experience it was going on. But this is something that we should know about, and especially if we want to be ready to combat these same sorts of policies once kids are back in school. God only knows what'll be happening then. But as always, Anthony Fisher, we appreciate your work. And anyone watching this can read both of these articles available at Insider.
Thanks so much.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.